Welcome to a very special edition of Libertarian Drinking Coffee Live. I know it's literally usually around 3 p.m. Today we've gone 2 p.m., a little bit past on the East Coast, and I have a very interesting show today. I know that usually when you guys listen in on this, it's a specific candidate speaking about a specific race they're trying to run. That's usually what this show is about. That's true. Or sometimes about a specific activist talking about a specific thing that he or she went through. That's true. But this time it's even more special. Today I have two guests on talking about something that's very challenging. And all of us who are in any third party, particularly Libertarian, but any third party have to worry about. And that is ballot access. And if you don't know what ballot access is, that means your ability to be on the ballot so there is a choice for the voter. It is another form of voter suppression. It's another form of voter suppression that most people don't know about, don't care about, don't talk about, nothing, but we are going to do it today, specifically for Connecticut. We all don't often hear that state being talked about for this, but we should. And I have two very special guests. One, a two-time candidate for governor and just all-around great guy, a friend of mine, Dr. Atty Lewis, and the freedom attorney herself, the woman who is prepared to don the armor and attack the beast more than once, the attorney, Tricia Lindsay. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you, Larry? That was one
I'm
of the
doing
best
great.
introductions I've ever had.
Well, you do it. And that's the thing. Most people don't realize that getting an attorney to do what you do is not an easy thing. And either because there's so many reasons. One, most attorneys don't know this field, don't want to get involved in this field. That's option one. And the other part is if they happen to know this field, they're often very much tied to one party or the other. So they can't help us or any other third party because they got to, be buddies with their own party. Or third, and you know this, fighting the monster that is this system, it's a tough fight and we often lose. And a lot of attorneys don't want to put it up, which is why I give you so much respect, because you are that special diamond in the rough. You are that person who will go out there and fight, do the battles that we need and take the arrows that were going to be fired at you. And I appreciate that. That's why I'm saying that. So well deserved.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I do want to bring up, though, Dr. Atty Lewis, my friend. You have run more than once. You have thrown yourself into this fray, both in 2018 and 2019. But 2018, you were on the ballot, right?
I was on the ballot, and I was running for mayor at the time for the capital city of Hartford, Connecticut. And boy, was that that was like a baptism of fire. Getting the knowledge of how serpentine the actual system is. And when I say serpentine, I don't say that to speak pejoratively of the system. I'm saying it to speak very truthfully about how the system works. The average person, and even the above average person, has no idea how the political system works. They don't understand, that it's a dog eat dog world, and that the people that are clawing and clawing and clawing to maintain the positions that they previously had, it's not for the sake of the people. It's not for the betterment of the people. It's because of power. It's because of a lust for power and greed. That's what it is. And I'm being very, very, honest about it. And really the best candidates on the planet are those that don't get the opportunity to serve. And they're stopped by the, this two parties, one party system, and that's the problem. When I ran for mayor, it was very, very interesting because, the person that I was running against, he had come from New York. He had never been in Connecticut, never done anything in Connecticut, never had any roots whatsoever, but he was a part of the Democratic Good Old Boys Club. He was part of the system. The system, they hand selected him. He had a few creds, he was in the military, and that's always wonderful. And, he was an Oxford scholar. That's a great cred, but he knew nothing about Hartford, but it didn't matter.
Yes.
And I was born and raised in Hartford, been there my entire life.
Yep.
To this day, I have a school that I started in 2009 for 2nd to 8th graders. The school still exists. We just had our 10th annual gala. We've been going
congratulations.
on. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So we're happy about that. Have a lot of, students that graduated from the program. None of that matters.
I'm getting a bunch of questions about Connecticut, but before I go there, I want to ask our counselor, if I could, why do this? I mean, you know how tough this is. You know, doctor, you know his story, right? You know how it's. Why do this? Why not go off and, I don't know, do intellectual property, I don't know, real estate, whatever. I mean, so many things you could do. Why do this?
She likes mixed martial arts.
That's boring.
I like that. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. But you know what, Larry? I've always been an advocate for people. Whether I did it intentionally or unintentionally, it just always ended up being that way. And every single career that I've been in, and let me not act like I've been floating all over the place, but I was in education for a number of years, as you know. And even when I began in that role, I started as a teacher's assistant. And within, I remember working for the school, and I was the Archdiocese of New York, and I was the most, I think I was the newest employee, the newest one. I think I was probably the youngest one. And yet I was the one who recognized, the inequities that were going on, the discrimination and the unfair treatment of the teachers' assistants with salary and things of that nature. And I spoke up, about it. And I spoke up and I said, absolutely not. This cannot continue to go forward. And just a number of things. And so I've just always been that person. I can't see injustice. I cannot see wrongs being done and just ignore it. I am just that person. And so I am not the one to take the easy road out. I'm not the one to say, okay, well, that's a problem and just walk away from it.
Right.
If I see it and if I believe it's something I'm supposed to tackle, I will tackle it. If not, I will pass it on to someone else, because at the same rate, you can't, if you're a jack of all trades, you'll be a master of none. Right. So you can't take on everything. But if something speaks to me, if I really feel a true conviction around it, and if I really have a belief, even if I know it or don't understand it, I'm going to research it, find out about it, and move forward. So ballot access, it's something that I didn't know as well as I know it now. More layers to understand. But because it's something that spoke to me, because I could see the injustices, because I saw what was going on. I worked with Dr. Aaron Lewis on his mayoral campaign as a volunteer. I helped, same thing with the gubernatorial run. And I could see very plainly, I said, this doesn't make any sense. And when things don't make sense to me, I have to dig into it. It's my scientific mind. It's my curious mind. It's my conspiracy theory mind that leads me to think.
I'm glad we have you on a team. I appreciate it. Let me grab a couple comments. The comments are popping up. Gene says, I was out collecting signatures on July 4th. One person asked why the candidates weren't on the ballot. I told him it's because we have to collect thousands of signatures to get on the ballot. Republicans and Democrats don't need to do that because they make the laws. Wow. And the reason why I brought this up is exactly to your point, Dr. Lewis. You said that people don't know. And this is Gene out. You're talking to people and they don't get it. They don't understand why. They have no idea. And so now when we're out there collecting signatures, we're having to educate too. It's hard.
One of the things that people don't understand is that the greatest form of discrimination, has to do with the ballot. That's the greatest form of discrimination. Right now, we're looking at a lot of separation in our country, and we have this whole, I call it nonsense over black and white. And all that is, that's the, the carrot and the stick. All that is just, it's just a rehashing of the things that work to keep one party ahead of the other party. And unfortunately, the other party is falling for the same tricks that they've been falling for the past 60 years. And at the end of the day, nobody gets ahead. But the real discrimination is having a system hijacked so that you only have the choices that they tell you that you can have. That's the greatest form of discrimination in the world. Another major form of discrimination that overwhelmingly black people have not gotten yet. It's moving now. It's starting, Larry. But black people historically haven't understood that for, like when, President Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. That was that's the most racist statement in the world, because what he was really saying is that the black mind, the black consciousness Black intelligentsia does not really exist, because if you
Correct.
don't vote for me, then you're no longer Black. So he defined what Blackness is, and Blacks were defined by only having one choice. That's slavery by another name, right? The whole institution of slavery was the taking away of choices. That's all slavery was. It was the taking away of choices by physical and brutal means. Trust me, I understand it. I know what it's like to be treated very, very harshly for changing parties. If you change your party, all the people that was beloved in the other party that you left, they're not going to love you no more.
No,
Why?
not anymore.
You get what I'm saying? Why? Because it's slavery. If you're not with our party, then we blackball you. There are people right now.
Hold on. I got to ask an important question.
Sure.
Did you get your new race in the mail?
No.
You didn't get what? You didn't get a letter that tells you your new race, because you're not Black anymore. You got to get a new race in the mail. They probably told you what you are. Yeah, I happen to love Filipino people, so I checked Filipino for mine. That's what I got.
I love it.
Got to check
listen,
race.
man, hey, listen, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you.
That's it,
But the thing is that, I mean, even people, I served many years ago. I was, for the greater part of my life, I was a registered independent for the greater part of my life. Only for 8 years was I a registered Democrat. During those 8 years, I worked very hard in the party, believing that I was supporting a cause that would bring about change. When I discovered that it was not bringing about change, I said I could no longer endorse it and move forward with it. When that happened, people in the greater Hartford area that I was lifelong friends with, I can't make this up, they were told by the higher ups in the party, don't speak to Dr. Lewis. They said, don't speak to me. And I'm like, wow, you know, I educated your kids. I made sure that the city was safe. I did more for Hartford than the sitting mayor did. You heard what I just said?
But hold on now. I got to tell you,
claim too.
What people don't realize, the greatest crime isn't murder. It isn't rape. It's heresy.
Yes, absolutely.
And you are a heretic.
Yeah.
And remember, when you're a heretic, you don't have to have proof. The accusation is all that's required.
Wow. That's a powerful statement.
Yes.
And I'll wear that title, heretic, with great pride then, because really all you have to do to become a heretic is not follow the herd. If you don't follow the herd, then you're going to be a heretic. And it doesn't make a difference how intelligent your argument is, how much evidence you bring to
let me ask our counselor here. Counselor, is there hope? You are literally in the trenches here. You're sitting there fighting it. You're seeing what's happening. Do we have some hope that there's change on the horizon? I mean, tell us what you really think. Please be forward. Are we in a good shape, kind of good shape? Where are we?
I think for the fact that we're here having this conversation and there are people looking, watching, and commenting says that, yes, we have hope. I think for the fact that we are fighting this, I think there is hope. You know, every major change that has happened in our country from the beginning up to now, it took a fight, right? Freedom does not come freely. It doesn't. It's a very confusing word because it's not free. Freedom is not free. You have to fight for it. You know, unfortunately, we shouldn't have to fight for it because it should just be given to us. You know what I mean? There's certain freedoms that we should have just by virtue of being human. But because man is man and people are people and they become corrupt with power, we have to fight for it. And as long as we keep fighting and we bring awareness to the issue and educate people, then yes, we have hope. It just may take some time, but we have hope. And I think for the fact that on this case, our motion to dismiss is still pending. The judge's ruling is still pending, our opposition, and nothing has happened yet in all these months. I think we do have hope, because if it was something that was so... I
do want to bring up the case, but before I do that, Mike agrees with you. Mike says, the failings of the Uniparty are the gains of libertarians. We are inevitable. The Band-Aid will be ripped off. We just need to position ourselves preemptively to hold our country together. I like that, Mike. He's feeling seriously. He's with you. He thinks we got hope. I think it's winning. So that's great. So
I think so. Have you seen what's been going on with the Democratic Party? I'm sorry, social media, what's been going on, people are disgusted. I posted something the other day that I was really conflicted with posting just because of the content. But I posted it because I wanted to get to the emotions. And I usually don't try to vibe on it, get to the emotions of people, but I know that we are very emotional people. We are a very emotional country. That is what they harp on. That is what they use. They manipulate our people's emotions to get responses and to keep them in bondage. And so I used that, the reverse, to free them from bondage. Like, look at what's going on. Look at what's happening. This is where our country is because of the leaders that we have in place. It's not working anymore. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? That. And so we do have hope. We do have hope, but we just have to keep fighting, and we have to use unconventional ways to. All
right. So let me talk to my audience for a couple seconds.
Unorthodox ways.
To my audience, guys, if you like what we're hearing, please do me a favor. Click that like button. Right. If you like it, click like. Let us know. We have to get past Al Gore, the algorithms. Yes, we have to get past the algorithms. We've got to do it. So please click that like button. It does matter. And do me a favor. You have two people here who are giving us a chunk of their afternoon, educating us, giving us some motivation. So please do us a favor. Follow them. Give them some love in return. Follow them on Twitter. Right. It's right there at the bottom. You can see it. Dr. Aaron Lewis 1 and TS Lynn 33 on Twitter. Please follow them if you can. And also, by the way, all their stuff, their websites and such, they're all on the description on both YouTube and Facebook. See what they're doing. Check them out. It does matter. They're giving us some love. So give them some love in return. It does matter. So let me grab a couple comments that I think are going to kind of go towards the case itself, what you guys are dealing with. Dan's asks, he says, Dr. Lewis, are Libertarians an official registered party in Connecticut? New York State does not recognize Libertarians here. And not only do they not recognize them here in New York State, we don't even know how many there are anymore, because you can't even put like Libertarian as your party, nothing. So we're losing all the data for Libertarians. We're losing everything. Libertarians do not exist in New York State anymore. They're totally gone. How does that work in Connecticut?
First of all, I'm saddened to hear that the discrimination is far greater in New York State than it is in Connecticut. But
it is.
At this very point, yes, we are a recognized party in Connecticut. So there's actually that, that line that says Libertarian that we can check, if we actually register or change our parties throughout most of the states. Sometimes it's a box that says other, and we write Libertarian in, and then we receive a letter that, says the actual word Libertarian. We are recognized. However, they're working feverishly. And when I say they are, both the Democratic and Republican Party are working to eliminate Libertarian parties, to eliminate choice. And now what I want to say to Democrats and Republicans, because there's a lot of good Democrats out there, lots of them, lots of good Republicans that are out there. When I say this is not an attack against you as a Democrat. I want to make that very clear. I'm not attacking you as a Republican. I appreciate you. I respect you. I love you as a Democrat, as a Republican. What I'm trying to make you conscious of is the fact that people in the party that's in the top tier of the party that's controlling things, those people are not concerned about you or me or anybody's party. They're concerned about maintaining power for their own personal interests. So I want to make that very clear. So when I talk about the Democrats and the Republicans, I'm never, ever talking about you. In fact, I'm actually vouching for you. I'm trying to get you to become aware of the fact of what these people are doing against you when you're voting for them. So they are working hard to eliminate us. Why? Because they don't want you to have any other choice than the choices, not that you vote for. I want you to be very clear about that. It's not the choices you vote for, it's the choices that they give you. And there's a total difference. It's a total difference, because we're often, blinded to believe that, hey, I went and voted for, person A, or I voted for person B. My vote counted. I'm sorry. The person A and the person B, in many cases, not all, but a vast majority, were planted there. They were put there by the party. So really, you did not have a choice. They gave you the only choices to choose from. And so when that happens, it is voter suppression, it is discrimination, and it is slavery by another name. And that's something that I want you to understand.
I love that. Wow.
And
Wow. Okay.
that is so key. I'm sorry, but that is so key to what we're doing and what we're fighting, for people to understand exactly what Dr. Lewis said. This is about what you're given. It's picking the candidates that they think. It's like telling the people, oh, you can't think for yourselves. We have to think for you. And these are the only two people, or these are the only two parties that you get to vote in, and this is your choice. So pick plantation A or plantation B. And that's pretty much what it is. But either one that you choose, it's a plantation. And massa on that plantation will determine the choices that you are given, the limited choices that you are given to choose from, which really are no choices at all. And that's what we need them to understand.
Wow. Okay, so let's walk down what happened to you last year. If I could, Dr. Lewis. You were on the ballot, then you weren't. Help me out with this.
So I actually received, first of all, I'll never again play their game. I'm not doing it. That's why Attorney Lindsay, I asked her to go and let's file a lawsuit against the state of Connecticut, because the game itself is a discriminatory game that we all signed up for. And it's a game that they designed that we'll never win. And that's something that hit me. I got the amount of signatures that was needed to be on the ballot. I got the signatures, right? However, because I was the unifier, I was the guy that was not going to race bait. I was the guy that wasn't going to do identity politics. I was the guy that was going to teach people to be responsible and accountable for their own action. I was the guy that was telling, my people who I love, Black people, that white people are not your problem. White people are not, the enemy, right? And when I was going around saying that, well, clearly the person who is governor now in the state of Connecticut did not like that. They did not like unification. The person on the other side was not glad about the fact that I was going to bring people together. So they conspired to make sure that I would not be on the ballot. How did they do that? They did that through the system. They created their own system of ballot access. And so what happened is that while all of these ballots were collected and harvested and dropped off at locations all over the state of Connecticut and several different local municipalities, those ballots were somehow mysteriously lost. Those ballots were somehow mysteriously not presented.
Hold on. I want to make sure I got this. So you got the signatures.
Yes.
And they said, okay, great, you're on? Or they said, no, you're not on?
No, first of all, we didn't even know that we were not on until late September. We never even received a letter from the Secretary of State. And when asked to provide proof of a letter being sent, when we went to our preliminary hearing, the Attorney General that was sent there, the Assistant Attorney General, she says, well, we don't have any proof. We don't have any letter that we can prove that we mailed out. And I'm thinking to myself, shouldn't that end this case altogether? The fact that you have no proof whatsoever? Because
the problem is, if it was reversed, they would require us to have proof.
100%.
They would require that.
Yes, 100%. And so the system that is designed so that all of the people understand this, that third parties have to get ballot access. But the problem that Attorney Lindsay made so clear to the judge is that the other parties don't have to do that. The judge retorted, well, that's because it was decided, by the state that they wouldn't have to. So then Tricia says, well, who made that decision? And she put in the judge's face, it was Democrats and Republicans that made the rule. So when will the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox come together to make rules so that the Orioles will win the World Series? Think about what I'm saying. So the Democrats, it doesn't make any sense. The Democrats and Republicans.
Here's what I'm sure, as an avid Yankee fan, that if the Yankees and the Red Sox got together to decide, anything, they'd be in the playoffs every year, guaranteed. Every year, guaranteed.
Wait, but think about how powerful that is. What you said. I don't think you even understand the profundity of what you just said. Because guess what? The Republicans and the Democrats are in the playoffs every year. We need to quote that. We got to quote that. We got to quote that, man. Every year, the Republicans and the Democrats are in the playoffs. We never see anybody else in the playoffs. Is it because nobody else can play? Is it because nobody else has skill or nobody else has talent? No, they fix the system and then they brainwash the people to believe that the only ones that will ever make the playoffs is the Democrats and Republicans. Now think about that from a sports point of view.
Yep.
For all sports lovers, there's not one sport in the world, in the whole world, where the same people every single year is in the playoffs, maybe except for UConn, girls and the UConn boys team. Well, that's different. That's an anomaly, right? But we even noticed the girls didn't make it this year, right? And so somebody gets a chance at some point. In our system, we have been brainwashed. Now, I'm talking about the entire system to believe that two parties should be in the playoffs every year. This municipality in New York and Connecticut, it's a municipal run this year for mayors.
Yep,
and that
absolutely.
Yep. Next year's presidential run. A couple of years later, the governor's one, right? So
every year. Let me head over to our counselor. Counselor, how did you handle that? I mean, this had to. You must have wanted to literally just pull your hair out. I mean, with the hypocrisy, the idea that the state is always right no matter what, right? And the double standard. I mean, how do you handle that when that kind of hypocrisy, that kind of double standard is thrown up against you? Well, what kind of defense do you have? What can you do?
Well, what I did was, Larry, I put it actually in the judge's lap, and I told her because the assistant attorney general pretty much wanted us to maintain the status quo, right? She was saying, well, this is the way it's always been. This is the way things are, and they don't have to petition because they're the majority, the majority party. And I said to them, right, how do we know that they're the majority party? Right? How do we know? What says that? I said, because there are a number of people, a percentage of people that are not voting, right? Because they don't like the candidates to choose from. There are a certain number that are registering as alternative parties, third parties, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, so have we taken a stock? Have we looked at the percentage of citizens that are not voting, Republicans and Democrats? Are we looking at that? And I said, because if we took a tally of that, I am sure that the Democrats and the Republicans are no longer the major parties in Connecticut.
Great.
I said, but nobody's looking at that because they don't want to know. And I said, so that is what keeps us going. And then I told the judge, I said, Your Honor, with all due respect, if we maintain the status quo, then Your Honor, as a female, would not be sitting on the bench right now. Ooh. So we've always been. She would not be there. I said, with all due respect, you would not be on the bench right now, right? And I too would not have been in the courtroom standing before you, able to litigate on this matter. I said, so we've always relied on the courts to stand up and make the changes, to shift what's going on in society, maintaining the status quo. I said, if that's the case, slavery would still be occurring. We cannot afford to continue to maintain the status quo to the detriment of the citizens of the state of Connecticut. That just does not work. And I said, that is what the Assistant Attorney General is asking you to do. And then I also realized that the judge is not aware of a large part of the process. And so it's also educating the judge on what happens.
100%.
Unfortunately, the Assistant Attorney General that was there, she didn't seem like she knew the process either. And then she tried to manipulate the court. And I'm saying that because she tried to, and Dr. Lewis can jump in because he knows this even better than I do, certain aspects of this as the candidate. But there was a part when she tried to pretty much convince the court that the Republican Party and the Democrats, they too have to petition just like the Libertarians. And that's not true.
Yeah.
And that is the portion, that is the part of the candidacy. Dr. Lewis, you can take over. And Larry, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no. So Larry, you know this all too well. So Tricia can be nice and she can also be fierce. Right now she's being nice, right? This lady lied. She lied. She didn't manipulate. She told, as my mom would say, a bare-faced lie. You know why? She said that Democrats and Republicans go through the same ballot access process as third parties. And so what she did to manipulate the circumstances and tell a lie was she was comparing when Republicans or Democrats has two people that are going for a position, both as Democrats or both as Republicans, and they can't make a decision. So those people will have to, get ballot access to determine which of the two will end up in the state convention. That's
Right.
completely and totally the opposite, because somebody Republican and somebody Democrat is going to be on the ballot no matter what. We have to, rally for the ballot access for every single line. And she is so incredibly dishonest about that. And most people don't realize that it's wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. It's fundamentally unethical, and it's fundamentally imbalanced.
So let me grab a couple comments here. Mike says, this is why I love Libertarians, seeing the modern game for what it is. Absolutely true. Yes, absolutely. So Tricia, you have Patty's on your side. She says, yes, Tricia is correct. Pick evil A or evil B and be shocked when evil is elected.
I love that.
She's not wrong.
I love that. Absolutely. I love that. Yes.
James is on your side there, Doctor. He says, slavery by another name is so accurate. I have been told on the internet by someone named Republican that I should be spanked for throwing a tantrum, even though they were being childish. Yeah.
Wow.
Happens all the time. So I guess we do have some good news, though, here.
You know what was...
Oh, I'm sorry, Trish, go ahead, please.
No, I was just going to say, what was so striking that I'm sitting here and I recall from being at that hearing, it was the lack of preparation for the Assistant Attorney General coming into the courtroom. And Dr. Lewis can chime in on this, because, and I say it was so shocking. It struck me because it spoke to the arrogance, and it spoke to, the fact that they didn't have to prepare, because this is what we do. This is the status quo. We're the state. Who are these little people that are going to come in here and fight us? It's not going to work. We're just going to come in here, talk. The judge is going to side with us, and that's going to be it. And I really have to. I was actually pleased with the litigation that day, with the hearing, and how the judge handled the situation, how she handled, because she really dug in. She really asked a number of questions. It seemed as if she really wanted to understand what was going on in the process. Yeah, it was pleasant. It was a pleasing, situation, because it could have been different. I've been before judges where you just know exactly where they stand, and that's it. They don't want to hear
every judge we saw in New York State, to be forward, we saw 8 of them. Every single one of them obviously were like, why are you here? Get away from me. Everyone was up. One of them literally lied on his response. He literally responded and said, Larry Sharpe never. I went pro se for a part because I had 5 defendants. I had my lawyer. I would never go pro se without a lawyer. That's insanely stupid. But I wanted to be able to talk, and they would never let me talk. Literally, I would show up. They go, no, you can't talk. So I had my lawyer represent 4 of the people, and I represented myself, so I could speak. So literally, I spoke. I did oral arguments. I did all those things that I do, and he wrote in his response, Larry Sharpe never made a constitutional argument. I have in both my written and oral in the transcripts, I actually used the word unconstitutional. Which means either he just didn't bother reading it, which is what I think it is true. He didn't bother reading it because his mind was already set. He didn't bother reading it, or he lied. But either way, I had no recourse, because when we appealed it, the judges there wouldn't let me talk. They literally said, no, you can't talk, just because that's our local rule we made up. I'm not joking. I had evidence. I had people there in the actually at the event who actually saw the judges go, no, our rule is you can't talk. That was just what they did.
But
so
Larry,
were you pro se during the appeal, or did you have?
I was pro se, and they said I couldn't talk. Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. For you to have a judge that was good to you in any way, all of my judges were so blatantly against me.
Wow.
One of them actually said out loud, no, these rules are meant to keep people off the ballot. Like, that's what it's supposed to be for. He literally said that out loud.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So to have a judge like your judge,
because once you put things in writing, once you speak and everything is in a transcript, it's appealable, right? It's appealable. Yeah. You can use those words. It's a transcript. You can go after them. So they didn't want you to say anything because they knew you could articulate the matter and you could argue your points. So they wanted to shut you down, which is why I put Dr. Lewis. I'm not one of these attorneys who are arrogant, who thinks I know everything. I don't know everything, right? And this ballot access situation, I'm passionate about it. I understand. I'm learning it more and more each day, because a large part of it it's discriminatory. When I looked at this and I read it after wading my way through all the political nuances and the talk, and I said, this is just discrimination. That's who I am. I'm the attorney who deals with discrimination. So I said, this is just discriminatory, right? So there are other nuances in the process and things of that nature, which we had to wade through. And I would call Dr. Lewis and say, okay, break this down for me. Like, I need to understand it from a layman's point. Tell me what, this. Well, I can't even call Dr. Lewis a layman because his brain is like out here. I don't like. He has so much information in that head. It's just incredible. But I would call him and say, okay.
So let me ask the most important piece here, Counselor. The most important piece here. You've told me that they haven't made a decision yet. So does your gut tell you this is a good thing or a bad thing? They haven't made a decision yet. What does your gut tell you?
I think it's a waiting game, because I literally filed a motion to stay discovery because of how long it's taken for the judge to issue a ruling. They haven't stayed discovery. We canceled the last conference where we were supposed to go on a status conference. They haven't stayed discovery. They haven't issued a ruling, and we've heard nothing. So I think it's a waiting game. I think they're waiting to see, elections are coming back around. You have different elections that are going on. So I think that's what's happening. But either way, we'll be geared up to go in either way. Because when judges play games, I will very respectfully call out the judge and say that the court prolonged this matter. And because the court prolonged this matter, it further put Dr. Lewis in a more precarious situation, and it's violating his rights, because every day that we're waiting, every day that we have to fight this, every day that he's being denied the ability to begin to prepare, right, for the next election or for ballot access, to know what he has to do, right? Elections, you all can tell me better than I know how long it takes to prepare to run as a candidate. What does it take to get your ducks in a row? Are we going to have to, petition for 7,500 signatures again, or are we not? And if we're going to have to petition, how many people do we need to get in place? If the process is not streamlined, if we're not sure what we're doing, it prevents us from fundraising, because people want to know exactly what's going on. I'm not giving you money unless I know what's happening. And so it stops so many different pieces of this process that has to be put in place. So if the courts begin to play that role and begin to play into that and begin to use their position in order to further compromise him, then we can call that out. And I'll call it out in a motion. I have nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose at this point. Right now, the plantation is in full effect. So what are they going to do? Stay on the plant? Tell me, stay on the plantation? I'm already there. So there's nothing. I get you.
Yep, it's true. So Joe says, but Larry, the 100% controlled Republican Democratic government decided only Republican Democratic parties can run candidates. Totally fair.
Right.
Totally fair. Absolutely. That's great.
Of course.
I love that. Okay, so I guess what I'm getting is we're feeling that this still might work out. We're doing well. And what I hope is, if what you've said lands and we actually win this thing, Counselor, we can use all the cool stuff you said for our other cases. I love that. And by the way, for all of the people out there who are watching and listening, whether you're third party, whether you're libertarian, forward, green, whatever you are for third party, look, if you need a counselor to help you out, why don't you call up Tricia? Call her up. Give her one of them consultation fees, and she can help you out and walk you through some stuff. Do that. If you got a local lawyer, she can help out that local lawyer. If you want to use her, you can use her if it makes sense. But either way, she's been through this. I'm telling you, she has been in the trenches, slugging it out, fighting hand-to-hand combat here. And we need her, and we need her experience out there. So please go check her out, see what you can do. If you want to talk to Dr. Aaron Lewis, please do so. And also support his campaign. Support the good doctor. He's out there trying to fight the good fight. He's being a uniter. It does matter. These people matter. That's why I'm bringing them on here. Follow them on Twitter if you could at Dr. Aaron Lewis 1 and TS Lind 33. All of their website and everything is on the YouTube page and also on the Facebook page. It does matter, guys. Thank you so much for this, and please click that like button. Let me ask you before we wrap this up. Good doctor, anything you want to say before we wrap this up? Anything I missed?
Just one of the things I want to say is, and this is just my spirit of who I am. I'm just saying to all the people, don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope, right? One of the things that I've noticed about the R's and the D's is that because they're in control right now, and like I said, it's very, very analogous to institutional slavery. and people, I'm sure that were slaves. I've never been a slave. I don't know anybody that was, but I know that they must have felt very, very horrible, like it was never going to end. I believe this is going to end because we're going to keep hitting that tree until it falls. We're not going to stop. So I need you to keep the faith with me and say, hey, we're just going to keep doing this. The way that the system is designed right now, it's nonsensical, and we are not going to acquiesce and act like this is just as good as it gets. It's not. We're going to keep plugging away until the tree falls, and it will fall, probably sooner than later.
There we go. Counselor, please, you want to bring us home? Something special you want to say or anything?
You know what? I just ask people to think. That's what I do. I ask people to think. Just think. All this is just about giving us the freedom to think and act on our thoughts and what we choose, our choices, right? No longer being told who we can vote for, where we can go, what we can do. If we don't have freedom in one area, we don't have freedom in all areas. And this is one of the major areas. We're literally electing, so supposedly, people to put in position that are supposed to be representing our interests. If the candidate that I'm being forced to choose don't represent my interests, don't represent my thoughts, don't represent me, then how then am I being heard in society? How then am I making a choice? I'm not. I really am not. And so I'm just asking everyone to think. This is not fighting you individually. This is us coming together collectively to fighting those that have hijacked our freedoms, that have hijacked our rights. And voting is one of the most fundamental rights because that is what directs our lives in this country. And so that's all we're asking for. And that's what we're fighting for. And we hope that people flood the courtrooms when we have our hearings and when this goes to trial, if it goes there, we want them to flood it because we have to put it in the face of the courts, the judge, and let them see exactly what's going on and they have to answer to it. But if this is kept quiet, the assistant attorney generals, they get to continue. The status quo is maintained and our lives will continue to be directed by those who don't represent us. And
there we go, guys. Everyone, thank you guys for coming. Everyone else, thank you so much for watching. I will be on again tonight, by the way, with an AMA at 7 p.m. this evening. I will be on Monday, a special nighttime show, 9 p.m. also. So I'm back in action. And next week, I will be at Freedom Fest in Memphis, Tennessee. And if you want to come by, stop by, and I will see you then. Everyone else, I will see you all very soon.